Okay, so this is gonna be my first movie review. Like I have in my channel description, I am mostly gonna focus on the Led Zeppelin bootlegs, especially at first. But I do like to talk about a abundant different topics. So definitely one of them is gonna be movie reviews, just because I watch a lot of movies. The first movie that I've actually seen at the movie theater since the channel started was Ghostbusters. And I initially did not want to see this movie, but I decided, well, I can't really form my own opinion on it until I do see it. So I saw it, and throughout the entire thing, I was really embarrassed, and my mind kept on thinking about how unbelievable the movie was. I was embarrassed because all these so called jokes, which there must be at least one joke per minute in this movie, but they're not jokes. They fall flat, and there's nothing remotely funny about 90 to 95% of them. At least to me, anyway. I prefer my humor to be more of a I don't know, something that actually makes me laugh than makes me cringe. Overall, the I heard about the male characters being dumb in the movie, and the fact is, every single character is dumb. The the women themselves have a couple of dumb moments here and there, but they're nowhere near as bad as the men, which I couldn't believe it. The men are either on the border of being mentally challenged, or they are mentally challenged, in the case of Thor himself. And it was absolutely, the number one word is unbelievable here. I, I could not sit here and explain how crazy this movie is. It has to be seen to be believed. So yeah, I'm not going to try and go into it, because I could sit here and talk about every single moment that was insane, and it would take me over an hour. I might as well do a commentary on the movie and just point out one thing after another. As far as how the characters are treated, as far as especially the men, um, there's an instance where there's a tour guide who has a mistaken identity with the owner of a haunted house. And I'm not going to go into the details, but if you've seen the movie, then you know the scene. And it makes more sense that the Ed Bakley Jr. character was a ghost rather than being human. I'm not going to get into the details, but if you've seen it, you know what I mean. That was one thing that just jumped out in my mind, how dumb that made the tour guide look. It was awful. Another thing, I got some notes here, because without notes, I would just ramble on and on and on about this movie. Another thing was the toilet humor in the beginning. There's a scene where Kristen Wiig visits Melissa McCarthy and Kate McKinnon at the college, and they quote unquote trick Kristen Wiig into listening to an AVP recording, and the ghost recording turns out to just be a toilet humor gag, and the girls just laugh because they tricked Kristen Wiig into listening to it, which that makes no sense. I mean, you're not tricking someone into listening to an EVP recording of a farting noise. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was just bad. I'm at a loss for words as how bad it was. Let's see here. There was a big glaring mistake that I noticed. I don't usually notice mistakes in movies. Every once in a while, I'll notice a mistake, like, oh yeah, Jurassic Park. Where the very first T-Rex scene. Why is there a cliff on the edge of the road when there wasn't one before? Yeah, stuff like that. But in this movie, my jaw literally dropped when there was a rock concert scene, and someone in the audience is holding their phone up like they're actually filming the ghost, and the phone itself is just the home screen of a phone. It's like, I don't know, it's such a glaring mistake. It kind of shows that they really didn't care about the movie. The whole movie seemed like the makers didn't care about the actual material involved. They were trying to get across other points, which I may be wrong about. I don't know, but I don't know. Let's take a look at some of the facts. on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a high score. And let me just double check real quick, because the last time I checked, it was at 77%. Um, let's see what it is now. But I know for a fact any critic who recommends this movie is either an amateur who don't know what they're talking about, or they're lying to try and protect their image as a critic. Which anyone who reviews this movie and says it's good, so anyone who says it's better than average, I'll say, is not telling the truth, or they don't know what they're talking about. Some movies I can see why people will like them, and why others won't. But this movie is in the realm of being so bad. It's not so bad that it's good. It is just bad. And I would not say that unless that's the absolute truth. So let's see. So right now, Ghostbusters is sitting at 73%. It should be a 2%. On IMDb, I rated it a 2 out of 10. So I guess that's a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes if you want to be accurate. But 73% is that's incorrect. That's obviously critics trying to protect themselves from being called sexist. Last week, before the movie came out, I was definitely looking at some IMDb facts and noticed a lot of people were hating on all the 1 out of 10 votes. Because how can you vote a movie 1 out of 10 if you've never seen it? Well, I checked yesterday, and the 33.8% of all votes was a 1 out of 10. And the crazy thing is, no, I didn't see anyone talk about 26.3% of the votes being a 10 out of 10, which that's just as bad, if not maybe worse, than giving the movie a 1 out of 10, because, I mean, how many people agreed that the trailer was any good? I don't know. I surely didn't. And it's quite divided. Obviously, the average male vote is a 4.5, and the average woman vote is an 8.1. I'm not going to go into too much about that. I mean, there would be no talk about anybody being sexist towards the movie if they disliked it, unless that was brought on by the studios, which it was. And so it's kind of hard to talk about this movie without talking about that aspect of it. And the truth be told, I actually did not mind the women characters for the most part at all. Melissa McCarthy was good. She didn't act crazy or anything. Leslie Jones did not bother me like I thought she might have. Kristen Wiig I thought was good. She had some good comedic timing as far as working with the material that she had. And Kate McKinnon had probably what could have been a throwaway role, but she did just some weird stuff, and I don't know if this was her decision or the director or what, but she did some just uncalled for things that didn't really, I don't know what they were as far as acting choices, but at least it was interesting. It was better than the writing and the directing and everything else that was going on in the movie. So it was actually the women that did not bother me at all. It was everything else. Like I said, the writing and the directing and just everything else. So I don't care what people think of me as far as, what my honest thoughts are on the movie. I would be worse of a person if I came on here and said, "Oh yeah, it was a good movie." Then I would be lying to everyone and myself, and I'm not about to do that. But ultimately, this movie is an absolute travesty. It's quite obvious that the intention of the Sony and the director and anyone else who was actually involved in the pre-production, there's no way that this movie was not set up to try and give favoritism for women and to put down men in the process. I don't agree with it. I really don't think that should be brought up at all in movies. There's other ways to handle, women inequality or anything. I don't like to get into too many things political, just because there's no point in it to me. I mean, you can go round and round and around talking about, things like that, but it goes without saying that you cannot mention this movie without talking about the aspect of it being directly anti-men. And anyone who does not see that is lying to themselves. So as far as my Ghostbusters review goes, I give it a 2 out of 10. I only recommend seeing it just to see how unbelievable it is. Unbelievably bad. And that would be my only recommendation as far as seeing it. Don't go see it in theaters, because obviously the more money it makes, the more that they're going to try and say that it's success and push a sequel through. And we don't want that. We want a proper remake, if anything, or if sequel to the second movie. Anything but another movie in this vein would be better. So until next time, this is Mind Central signing off.